7010 Wednesday evening talk show. Tonight's focus is on the Rotaract, and hence our title is Rotaract and Rotarians working together. And we're very excited about this session because, of course, the Rotaract has been elevated to equal partners in Rotary. So we want to hear a lot about that in this evening's session. Just some housekeeping rules. First of all, everyone is going to be muted at this time. And if you see something that you would like to ask a question about during the agenda, as you see on the screen, you can push the chat button and print your question in there, and we will deal with that during the Q&A. But if you do want to ask a question, we will leave it for the item 7 on the agenda for a Q&A, and then we will open it up for you to actually ask questions. So as you know, you will all be muted. And so I would now like to introduce our host for this evening, Rotaract representative Valerie Edmunds. So Valerie, I'm going to turn it over to you. Also, this is being recorded. So Valerie.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming. I've been looking forward to this chat for a little while since it got brought forward. I'm very excited for the group that we have here tonight and everything that we're going to be talking about. And I hope we have some great questions at the end. So again, like Lynn said, my name is Valerie Edmunds. I am the District Rotaract Rep for our 7010 area. So my main goal is connecting and making sure that we have those lines of communication open between the Rotaract clubs in our district with the Rotary clubs. I also provide all of the clubs updates as they come out throughout the year, as well as making sure that there's training opportunities during a lot of our Rotary weekends for the different positions. And really the voice of the Rotaract clubs when it comes to different events that are happening throughout the year, especially for like the conference and everything that goes along with that. So I am very excited to introduce the next person on our list because it's something that's new for our district and for Canada. And I hope that it has a lot to offer us and everything moving forward. So I'm going to introduce Reid, and he's going to kind of let everybody know what Rotaract Canada is and everything of how our district can be working with Rotaract Canada for the future.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you, District Rotaract Representative Val, for inviting me to share a few words this evening. Tonight, I have the pleasure of speaking to you all in my capacity as the founding General Secretary of Rotaract Canada. Some might say I need to take off whatever other Rotary hats I might be wearing at this time, but at this point, Rotaract Canada has become more of a permanent hair implant than a hat that I can actually remove. It's just on all of the time, and it doesn't shut off. Rotaract Canada is what Rotary International calls a multi-district information organization, or MDIO. It's a terrible name, and one that President Holger himself is determined to have changed to something much more accurate and hopefully much fewer syllables. But what is an MDIO? To answer that question accurately, you really need to look at the history of MDIOs across the entire globe, which dates back to the mid-1980s, which is less than 15 years after when Rotaract was actually first conceived. MDIOs began as unofficial Rotaractor-led multi-district responses to the challenges that Rotary International was facing engaging with and managing Rotaractors and really the entire Rotaract program. to me, this is where the Elevate Rotaract movement truly started, not a couple of years ago with some policy changes. Rotaractors across the globe were identifying gaps in the management of Rotaracts, of Rotaractors, and they just started filling those gaps. They did not receive official Rotary International recognition until many years after they had been operating. And to this day, the role of MDIOs in the Rotary International structure is ambiguous at best. But ultimately, they all have the same goal. Rotaract, but better. Rotaract Canada was founded in this similar belief, that together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. For many years, many Rotaract clubs in North America have operated in silos. Many couldn't tell you which Rotaract clubs existed in their own district, let alone how those clubs did things or what they were accomplishing or what their membership was like. And let's be honest, there was seldom a Rotarian standing up to help them overcome those challenges. But we are so much stronger together. That's why we are Rotary International. And as a dual member, meaning I am both a Rotaractor and a Rotarian, I see clearly the value in everyone working together. Rotaract Canada established early on a very strong relationship with Rotary International Director Val Edmunds, and we continue to seek her counsel and the counsel of a handful of other experienced Rotarians regularly. We also work very closely with our friends at Rotary International, utilizing their guidance and their resources without hesitation. These relationships that many MDIOs choose not to nurture, but our leadership has been adamant that we do, because that's what Rotaract Canada is really about at the end of the day, relationships. Relationships between clubs, between districts, between Rotaractors, or between Rotarians, interactors, other Rotary International alumni, Rotary leaders and staff and friends, just the relationships between everyone. This is not that different from what Rotary was founded to be, but it is different from what Rotary has become. I have personally been on the chartering board of directors of several clubs, both Rotaract and Rotary, and I've had the privilege of visiting dozens or more. So many of the challenges each club or district faces, other clubs and districts are also facing. But so many of the solutions to those challenges are not being distributed, if they are being tackled at all. And that is where Rotaract Canada steps in. For Rotaract, these challenges that we see so frequently are inadequate training for Rotaract leaders at both the district and the club level. We see Rotaractors not only across Canada and the United States struggling to connect, but Rotaractors struggling to connect with Rotaractors who are 2 towns over. They struggle with strategic promotional materials that are on brand and clear, and with membership retention and interactor connections, just like Rotary clubs do. And more recently, they struggle with extremely ambiguous policy changes that do not clearly translate to anyone who does not speak legalese. In the Rotaract Canada strategic plan for the 2020-2021 Rotary year, which was developed with our chartering district Rotaract representatives, including Val, we have clear, deliverable steps to help districts and clubs collectively overcome all of these challenges. The role of Rotaract Canada is not to govern or to enforce policies. Our role is to facilitate problem solving and to provide Rotaractors with the skills, the training, the resources, and connections that they need to usher in the new age of Rotaract. Together with the global MDIO leaders who are more connected than ever and who are having a monumental sit down with President Holger exclusively for MDIO leaders for the first time in Rotary history this coming Saturday, we can and we will evolve Rotaract and Rotary. All of us, together. Rotaract Canada has this incredible team, and I am so proud of the things that they are already accomplishing, creating fully accessible resources in both English and French, helping districts elect their first ever district Rotaract representative and build their first ever district Rotaract committee. Hell, we even got a policy change on the October Board of Directors agenda. And it's been 2 months. These Rotaractors amaze me every single day. And I am so thankful that Rotaract Canada has been able to bring them together to support them in developing the confidence to speak up even when they're being silenced or ignored, and to experience what it's like to consider adopting my personal mantra of service through self, not service above it. Lifting each other up so we can better lead and better serve together. Rotary is not always the easy choice. Advocating for change never is, but it's usually the right one. So here we are, making the hard choice and making change. And we are just getting started. So thank you, District 7010, for being a part of all of that. And thank you everyone here tonight for coming.
Thanks, Reid. Would you be able to quickly talk about some of the positions that are available through Rotaract Canada?
Sorry, couldn't figure out how to unmute myself after all of this time. So Rotaract Canada has a full, what we call a cabinet, which sort of serves as our board of directors, although they are technically separate, to guide Rotaract Canada, and they each focus on a different section of Rotaract Canada and Rotaract Canada operations. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I'm currently just pulling up which committee positions are currently still open.
You have about 1 minute.
That's fine. I'm sure that my farm internet will kick in at some point.
Well, while you're searching, I'd like to say that we do have 2 of the members from our district on the cabinet. We have Ryan and I believe Christine as well.
Yes, Christine is in one of our committees, which is awesome. But I mean, really, in our Office of Internal Operations, it's such a strong office. We've got our treasurer. We've got what most Rotary clubs would consider a secretary. We've got somebody in charge of fundraising. But also, Rotaract Canada is legally a nonprofit corporation, so those roles are much bigger. In communications, we have people running our LinkedIn, our Twitter, our Facebook, all of that, but also proofreading and approving all of the documents we put out. Community and International Service is an office that is there to support clubs in doing more impactful service than they are now. Leadership development is a huge priority for us, and they are already developing DRR training resources that previously were unavailable. And then we have Ryan's office of membership engagement. And I have to say, Ryan was my last appointment. He was my latest appointment, simply because I could not find the right person for that role. And then I found Ryan. And so we put Ryan, I left it vacant, and I am so glad that I did, because now I have Ryan on board as well.
So Reid, if you look at the chat room, you can see that the Caitlin has put up a link for opportunities for Rotaractors.
And Caitlin's also part of Rotaract.
This is why I keep Caitlin around, is because Caitlin just fixes things behind everything I say.
Well, thank you, Reid, so much.
Thank you, Caitlin.
So we're gonna move on to the next section. So we're going to be introducing Ted and Becca from the Haliburton Highlands Club. We're super excited that they are able to talk tonight because it's going to be talking all about Rotaract and Rotary connecting about creating a new Rotaract Club, as they are the newest Rotaract Club in our district.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks,
I'm Rebecca.
Valerie. And I'm Ted. You guys hear me okay? Yep. Okay.
Yes, we
Well,
can
thanks
hear
so
you,
much for
Ted.
having us. Okay, great. So thanks very much for having us tonight. I think we're deemed experts because we're the most recent group to start a new Rotaract Club. So thanks. I have about 20 minutes worth of content, and I'm told I have 15 minutes. So Rebecca, when I'm done, any time left you can have. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So our club, the Rotary Club of Haliburton, had, Rotaract was not really front and center for us. It was something I thought about on occasion, that it would be kind of cool to have a Rotaract club in our region. But it wasn't until I went to the convention in Hamburg last spring, and I saw it was different. I've been to the convention in Toronto the year before, and something had changed between Toronto and the convention in Hamburg. The Rotaractors were front and center. There was enthusiasm, there was energy, there was excitement. And I think RI President Rassen had sort of sparked something with the Rotaractors. And there was a lot of Rotaract content at the convention. And there was a lot of, they were by far the most vocal, boisterous group at the convention. So I really took note of that. And when I came back, I really thought that it was important to try to launch Rotaract in Haliburton, but I didn't know anything about Rotaract. So I kind of took the next 6 months to learn all I could about Rotaract. I wasn't planning on going to our district conference, but I ultimately changed my mind and I went to the conference only to pick the brains of some Rotaractors. So, they were pretty easy to pick out at the convention. They're all around the table. And at the conference, I spent quite a bit of time with Ryan, who I think is speaking tonight, Ryan Harrison. And I also, I met with Katina Conley, who at the time was the district representative for Rotaract. I just picked their brains about what worked, what didn't, what meetings, like everything about Rotaract. I didn't know much, and the landscape was changing too because of the changes, and as a result of the legislative changes for Rotaract. And so, people in Haliburton, I think I might have been reported to police because I went around, asked every young person, I go, how old are you? How old are you? And they gave me the funniest looks, but I was trying to figure out, who are these 19 to 30-year-olds? And almost everyone I thought was 19 to 30 turned out to be 30 plus. And I thought, wow, this is going to be really tough. And I'd actually decided, you know what, I'm going to break the rules and we're going to let 30 pluses in. And ultimately that legislative change happened so that we could anyway. So I started to learn about Rotaract. Last summer, our club sponsored 2 young women to attend the World Youth Rally in Seoul, South Korea. And they went away and they spent a week at the rally, and then they traveled a bit. They came back and they did a presentation at our club. And lo and behold, Rebecca was one of the young women who came back to present, as did Kelsey Crow. So they were very impressive, to say the least. And at the time, I was the membership chair of our club, and my job was to ask everybody I talked to join Rotary. And I said to them, would you guys be interested in joining Rotary? And Kelsey looked at me with a look of horror. And Rebecca goes, yeah, I'm interested. And I went, wow, you're what, 22, Rebecca?
Yeah.
So you would be half the age of the next youngest member of our club. And you would, yeah, I'm interested. And then I thought, Rebecca, I might have something different in mind for you. And I just gave her a quick little explanation about Rotaract. And she goes, well, that sounds really cool. And I said, I still have some work to do, but I'll be in touch. So in the fall, I set up social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, for Rotaract and started just sort of posting general Rotaract information. And people were commenting, "Is there a Rotaract club in Haliburton?" I was kind of like, "Not yet," but I just wanted to start creating a following. We were fortunate in that Haliburton had our Chamber of Commerce had started a young professionals network. In the beginning, it was successful. It was mostly it turned out it was mostly a social group, but they would network and what have you. But it was slowly dissipating. And I actually the chamber executive director was in the Rotary Club. So I said to her, I think we could transform that into to a Rotaract club. And she was kind of questioning it, and then her board ultimately decided that they were going to stop doing the young professional network. So she contacted me and said, "Yeah, the time is right." So as it turns out, I don't think we got a lot of members from that organization, but what we were able to do was take over their Facebook page and slowly transition it from a young professionals network to a Rotaract. And they had already had, I think, 450 followers. So it gave us an instant audience. So when the new year hit after Christmas, I contacted Rebecca and Kelsey and Melissa Tong, who was involved with the Young Professionals Network, and Scott Wallings, who worked at Lemon College at the Haliburton campus. And I said, "Do you guys, let's get together and talk about Rotaract." So lo and behold, 3 of the 4 came out. And at the first meeting, it was obvious to me Rebecca was going to be the champion because she had done research on her own. She came with all sorts of knowledge about Rotaract that I didn't know. And it was clear right from the start who our young leader was going to be for Rotaract. So we started meeting weekly in January, just discussing sort of next steps. How do we grow this? We picked a date that we're going to have an information night, and rather than, we called it an information social to get people to come out to the event. I had the help of Ursula de Volen from our club, who was our New Generations chair, and actually was very involved with Rebecca in the selection process for the World Youth Rally, and Ursula also sort of looks after our Interact Club at the high school. So we started meeting weekly, every week, started doing news releases, interviews on radio. Haliburton's a town of 1,500, and we have 2 radio stations and 2 newspapers, believe it or not. And so we had articles in both papers. We did it in both radio stations. Rebecca did the Moose, and I went to the Canoe FM, which caters to the older crowd. And actually Melissa came with me to that, and we did that. So we created a Facebook event for this information social. It was going to be in mid-February, and the 4 young folks involved all started inviting their friends through this Facebook experience. And we had like 78 people say they were interested or coming, which it blew us away how much interest there was. So, we're planning for the night, how we're going to present, how we're going to reel them in. We wanted it to be very inexpensive to join, so we started a membership fee of $20. We had a very simple membership form, sort of basically their basic contact information, and we invited them and hoped they would come. So the night of the event, I have 42 people, I think, attended that night, and we got 30 of them to sign up as members. They all paid their $20. They filled in their sheets, and what really excited me, of those 30, only 6 of them were actually over 30. Like, most of them really fit in the target age range for Rotaract. So that was, I think, the 19th of February. So we said, well, do you know what? We're going to start meeting every 2 weeks, and we'll start doing our charter information for Rotary International. So we had 1 meeting. Rebecca led her first meeting at Fleming College. We had a really, really good turnout. I think about 24 of the 30-odd people showed up. And that was our last meeting before COVID hit. So ever since that first meeting, they've been a virtual club. So Rebecca, do you want to kind of take it from here? I've kind of taken it to when the reins got handed over to you, and maybe you could talk a little bit about, how you've sort of kept momentum going, and maybe some of the successes the club has had early.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to keep the momentum going. I was a little worried about that in my position, but we actually had 13 people sign up for leadership roles, and that core group really keeps us alive. Like to start at the very beginning of lockdown, we used our social media platform to introduce ourselves to our community and also transfer fun knowledge. We did how to paint a landscape, how to make your own earrings, how to weave, forest bathing, just fun stuff people love to see. We also began sewing masks and collecting materials for community members to sew masks. Out of that, 60 masks were sewn by community members, and 60 more masks were sewn by a Rotaractor who, I'm gonna call her an artist, jack of all trades artist, really amazing. So alongside that, we have been helping Rotary with some of their initiatives. We go every month to their Good Food Box. We send 4 Rotaractors. We help them with their roadside cleanup, which actually inspired us, and we went and adopted 2 kilometers of our own road. We've done 1 cleanup, which was so fun. We had half the members show up to do it, and we're gonna do another one in the fall. If anyone's in Haliburton and wants to join us, email me. And that's really exciting because we have our little signs up and we all get together and walk and pick up garbage. It's very satisfying. And also some next exciting steps for us are in collaboration with local community service agencies and a grant from the United Way. We are beginning to organize putting together basic needs bags for people in our community who need them most. We're thinking about doing 2 rounds of these, one's right now for school and one near Christmas. They will be totally personalized. We're doing a survey and they'll include non-perishable food, toiletries, feminine hygiene products, school supplies, all of the stuff that they need. And I guess other than that, we're really looking forward to continuing to work with both Minden and Haliburton clubs. As well, we're so excited for our charter night. We got chartered on March 18th, I believe, right before the COVID restrictions hit, and we've been waiting to party since. So we're thinking about maybe doing a virtual fun social thing for us to celebrate, because how amazing is it that 30 of us came together to just serve our community, and we're still here doing it over COVID. So I'm just so proud of everyone who's come and joined us, really. Thank you, Lynn.
Let me say, I think to launch a Rotaract club in your community, take the champion. And we were very, very fortunate that, you know, I'll take credit for being the champion at the front end, but Rebecca took the hand off and ran with it. And I can't imagine having a better inaugural president. Her enthusiasm, and she really has a keen sense of how to make people feel valued and appreciated, and she listens to everyone, and there are no bad ideas. Like, she's just been awesome. So I want to just say, Rebecca, you've done an awesome job, and a lot of your successes are directly a result of your efforts.
Oh, thank you, Ted. You're the one that's trained me this far and answers all of my questions every week. Val gets a few of those too.
Well, thank you, Ted and Becca, so much for sharing your journey to getting a Rotaract Club in the Haliburton Highlands area. So I'm just going to do a quick check because I know Ryan was joining us a little bit later, and I'm not sure if he is here yet. So he hasn't joined us quite yet from what I can see about who's here. So we're gonna skip forward and we're going to be going to Lauren. And Lauren's going to be going over some of her experience being a dual member of Rotary and Rotaract.
Perfect, thanks Val. So I've met most of you through different pets weekends and conferences, but I guess to kind of give you guys a background on myself, I'm a member of the Barrie Rotaract Club, and I've been a member there almost going on 5 years. Did some leadership roles, have been a past president. and have worked alongside a lot of we've got 3 Rotary clubs here in Barrie. And before I got involved in Rotaract, I didn't know what Rotaract or Rotary was at all. So it was all new to me. So when I kind of came in from a presidency level, or I came into the club and I really didn't know what was going on, I started asking a lot of questions about, why this and why that. And from there stemmed kind of a conversation with presidents and, leadership with the Rotary clubs, because I didn't feel ready to take on leadership roles because I didn't know anything about it and I wasn't sure. And from that, I started asking questions about, why don't we work closer with our Rotary partners? Why do we try to reinvent the wheel? Why do we, every year it's the same, wheel being created? And I just couldn't understand why. That made no sense to me. So I kind of set out a mission in my presidency to bridge the gap. I felt that there was a really big gap, and I felt that most Rotarians couldn't walk into a room of Rotaractors and name more than 3 or 4. And I felt the same way about a lot of the Rotaractors. They couldn't walk into a room and name more than maybe 3 or 4 Rotarians. So there, I did the presidency, and I really wanted to bridge that gap in terms of getting more joint meetings, getting more joint events. And so I did my presidency, and after that, in the past president role, I decided to kind of take that on as my mission. So with the global statistics, I don't know what they are now, but I know historically they've been about 5% of Rotaractors globally move on to Rotary. And I thought that was also weird. Why would we invest time and money in, I'm going to call us the, young adults, and most of them don't move on? It didn't make any sense. So when I started questioning things like the age limit, we are one of those clubs that had quite a few people who had older members in it. And I went like, if you told a Rotarian that they're too old for their club and had to move on, it probably wouldn't sit well with them. And so I turned out that there was a lot of preconceived notions about Rotaract and moving on to Rotary, and that most of the time people thought it was money. But if you asked a lot of the Rotaractors, it was really the fellowship. So with that, I said, well, how do we bridge the gap on fellowship? And the only way that's going to happen is getting out and making connections with people through community initiatives, whether they're events, whether they're socials, whatever they be. So that's kind of how I started thinking about the dual membership. And I don't really know, I don't think there was one in the area. Maybe there was, but it wasn't in my area in Barrie. There hadn't been anybody who had done it. So myself and the president of the Kempenfelt Club started talking up this idea and decided, you know what, if we're going to do it, great, but they're both going to be board positions. So it was equal at both levels. And from there, the information just started flowing. And just to kind of give you insight, the president of the Kempenfelt Club at the time, he had never been to a Rotaract meeting. And he had no idea what our club was doing. And it just gave exposure into both clubs because I sat at that board and I had to give updates on both sides. Just to give you some statistics in the past year, I was the first dual member in our Barrie area. And I believe in the district, I might be wrong, I don't have those statistics. 25% of our Rotaract Club had actually attended a Kempenfelt meeting, with a few others also joining the Huronia and the Barrie meeting last year. We held a second annual joint event, which was Pints for Polio. We had 3 potential new member referrals from Kempenfelt. 1 mentorship was set up through the liaison. We had multiple joint meetings between the 2, just fun socials. We had 11 Rotaractors attend the conference last year, which is 35% of our Rotaract Club. And this is the second year where in our district, in my president's year when I went in, I realized all the presidents in our area had they meet every month, but the Rotaract president was never invited. And I went, that's weird. We're all doing the same thing. So I was happy to see that this year it's also carried over that the Rotaract president is now part of those conversations. And then we also now join their Christmas parties and things like that. So we've collected jointly, we've done over about $10,000 in just joint events with them. So kind of how it got started, but that also kind of echoes the benefits that have come out of it. In terms of that, I kind of felt like it was a win-win situation. And my personal journey I wasn't ready to move on to Rotary. I was really comfortable with Rotaract and the people in Rotaract. And for me personally, it helped me be able to move on and say, you know what, let me kind of dabble my toe in this with a little bit of a comfort blanket behind me. And I'm so glad I did it. And it's worked out from a financial perspective. I'm still paying double dues, that's been my, that was how we had set it up because it worked for me that way. But I know there's been some conversation around doing like decreased dues for your first year and whatnot. But that's kind of how the idea got started in our area and how it's kind of taken off. We've done multiple joint events and now we're top of mind. So they're on our social media, we're on their social media. The communication is flowing. And even in tough times, like there's been conversations that are not, situations that come up and we didn't know who to turn to. So I'm glad to hear that Reid mentioned about the Rotaract Canada and how that whole initiative is really to work together and have resources, because I didn't feel like I had that in my year. And I felt like I turned to the Rotary clubs locally for that. And having those people that I can turn around to say, hey, who should I contact for whatever, social media, or who should I contact for that, has just made that so much easier because there's so many Rotarians out there. And it's just opened that means of communication. And it's really cemented a foundational relationship between ourselves and the Kempenfeld Club. But I would also echo that it's also cemented a relationship closer with the Huronia and the Barrie Club, because Rotaract is now front of mind with the local Rotarians. We're not the forgotten child anymore. So,
sorry, I'm going to cut you off there, Lauren, because we're on our time there. So thank you so much for sharing your experience as being a dual member and how that has brought a lot of great things for your area with Rotaract and Rotary. So I see that I can see Ryan now, so we're going to pass it over to Ryan. And he's going to just chat a little bit about his Rotaract journey.
Hello, everyone. I apologize for my tardiness. We have a puppy foster and with the service dogs, and we were doing some training. So thank you for accommodating the switch in time, Val. So my journey, I always have to plug the youth exchange when I talk about my Rotaract journey, because I really wouldn't be here without it. I guess 10 years ago now, I was in the youth exchange program. I went to Thailand for my year abroad. And that really got me introduced to the Rotary world. And after spending a few more years participating in the program as a Rotex, solidified my desire to, participate in the greater organization. So I found the Rotaract Club of Barrie. After a very short period of time, I became the district Rotaract representative. I think our second of our district. And I took it upon myself to really encourage people to start clubs. And although I saw maybe 2 or 3 clubs charter in my time as the district Rotaract Rep, I really have to hand it to those people that started those clubs. I'll even give them their names: Madison Lowe up in the Muskoka Club, and Jenna Reid out in Midland. They're just fantastic. Yeah, it has decreased. They are the real champions that started those clubs and got everybody engaged. I was really there to just give some information and some structure, and that's kind of where I found my passion. Place to fit in Rotaract and the Rotary organization is kind of being that person that can help provide a space for people to be able to do good in their community. So where I haven't been able to lead any big projects or do anything that raises a lot of money or come up with any great ideas for service projects, I've really excelled in the structure of a club and getting people, excited about participating in Rotaract. In my second year as district Rotaract representative, we had our district's very first district Rotaract conference, which was very exciting. We had, although it was a small group, they were a passionate group, and we had, the only negative thing that I was told was that it wasn't long enough. It was basically just a weekend, and we had karaoke and hanging out, and I'll admit the drinks were flowing a little bit, and we had a lot of fun, and we had speakers to talk about the things that are available in the Rotary organization, international opportunities, how to do some better fundraising, some entrepreneurial speaker. We had our very own Bryn Stiles come and talk, and if I could put words into his own mouth, he kind of talked about how he kind of was led into his whole positions, and he was asked to be this and asked to be that, and I admit there is a little bit of that in myself as well. I did ask to be the district Rotaract Rep, but it was kind of my club's encouragement to be president, and even Reid's encouragement for me to take on a secretary position with Rotaract Canada, so I appreciate Reid for that as well. Since my presidency, I've been helping my club at committee levels and trying to build those committees, and again, it's really all about the engagement for me, and that's why I'm kind of in this role with Rotaract Canada now, trying to get people engaged in really whatever they're doing. And it kind of really is emphasizing those things that we talk about the four-way test, areas of focus, principles of Rotary. When you can kind of really show those to, in my experience, when I can show those to people in an effective way, that's what gets people hooked. And it's those ideas that really sink into people's minds and what gets them on board and wants them to participate in the Rotaract community. Yeah, it's a very short story. I'll say that with Lauren, and we've had many conversations about Rotaract, and I only caught the little tail end of what she was talking about. Whatever she said before was a complete lie. Don't believe her at all. And even sorry.
Yeah, well, sorry. Thank you so much for, we're at our time now. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your involvement within our district, which has been great. So we hope for many, many more years. So now we're going to move on to a section where we're going to be talking to some of our other Rotaract clubs, and they're going to be talking about some of their projects, fundraising, and how things have looked for them during COVID. So we have a representative from Muskoka and one from North Simcoe. So first I'm going to introduce Lindley, and then at about 5 minutes, I will then introduce Hunter. So let's get going with Lindley and let her tell us everything that she wants to.
Okay, thanks. So I'm the club treasurer for the Rotaract Club of Muskoka this year. And our club, as Ryan mentioned, did strategic planning when we first started. And so that helped us get a direction of where we wanted to go as a club. And I was there for it. So I can speak a little bit about what projects we've done and how we've continued to support those projects through fundraising. So the Muskoka Rotaract Club hosts an annual event called Vinyl Valentines, and 2021 will be our 5th year running that event. So far, we've raised over $23,000 at it, and we've previously donated to Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Table Soup Kitchen, as well as local elementary schools in the form of mud kitchens. And our club has actually designed and built over 8 mud kitchens that we've delivered to schools across Muskoka, and then they're used at the elementary schools. Our club also has given school supplies with backpacks in a Stack the Pack campaign we ran. And then annually, our club donates money for bursaries to graduating high school students at the local high schools in Muskoka. There's 4 of them.
And then at Christmas, we do Christmas boxes for Interval House. And then our biggest fundraiser that will be coming up is we are transitioning to take over the Duck Derby in Bracebridge that runs on Canada Day. So will be our major fundraiser that we'll be doing. During COVID, we've had to sort of adapt our meeting schedules. We still meet bi-weekly, but it's over Zoom. And when we are able to do a social, we go outside to a community garden and take care of our plot, which is in the Rotary Gardens in Bracebridge. So to help with fellowship during COVID and keep our sort of members engaged, in August we ran trivia nights on Thursday, which were open to Rotaract members as well as friends and other Rotarians, because it's important that we continue to develop and foster relationships with our local Rotary clubs. And as a recruitment blitz, we gave away a Bracebridge Downtown BIA gift certificate, so that will hopefully help us see some increased membership going into the new year. And it's nice to know that we have the support of our local Rotary clubs. Quite a few of our members have attended district conferences to learn about Rotary work. And we just are grateful to continue to foster those positive and friendly relationships with Rotarians.
Thank you so much, Lindley, for sharing that. And now I'll pass it over to Hunter.
Hi, everyone. So I am the current president for our North Simcoe Rotaract Club. And in the time, in our time being active in these last 3 years, our club has been able to fundraise over $100,000, which is terrific, through events such as March Madness, the event formerly known as March Madness, and now into May Mudham, which we'll had to unfortunately cancel this year, but we'll pick back up next year. Our club is a group of go-getters that don't know the word no. They are the kind of people that when they have an idea, they, whether it's individual, duos, or all of us collectively, we go after it. So we have seen things like cardboard toboggan races at our Penetanguishene Winterama. We've seen different versions of Pints, Poutine, and Plaid. We've seen events such as Christmas boxes, where we're putting together care packages for women in need at our local women's shelter. We've seen a tremendous amount of giving and a tremendous amount of talent come out of the group that we have here, and I'm very proud to be a part of them. Throughout this time with COVID, it's really been, it's put us on a bit of a halt from this go, go, go mindset of events that we've had so much. So it's really, one of my strengths that I'll agree with Ryan there is I'm more of a structural kind of person. So while the club was chartered 3 years ago and kind of beats to its own drum, I see it run a little bit differently. I had a brief time where I was with the Barrie Rotaract Club, so a little bit different in how we structure our committees. And throughout this period, really at the beginning, it was more of a social time, keeping us all connected, that fellowship there. We've done some internal trivia nights, and just being there to support all of us. We have a heavy amount of group of our members that are their professions are within community as well, different fundraisers and police officers. We have quite a diverse group of people. So we originally were doing that, and then around June when BLM hit, I feel like there was a resurgence from our club to need to get back into the community. And we've made a commitment that working to be more inclusive, working to be better allies is something that we would really like to focus on. So we attended together, even though doing our best to keep socially distant, we attended a protest together, a number of members of our club. From there, we've been working on providing more educational resources. So we're arranging for a local book donation of about $700 worth of books going towards our local library here in Midland. And also in this time, we are working on garden overflow project. So looking at our victory gardens in the communities and getting people to give their excess produce to different drop-off points for us to donate to Salvation Armies and food banks. And then the restructuring, or not restructuring, but just revamping a little bit of what we have with our committees, giving them a little bit more framework, because I agree, I feel like when I was looking at all of these materials when I came in, it was a little bit like, okay, you know, how do we keep, I want to avoid burnout in these times. So how do we keep them engaged, but how do we also rein it back in so that they can really focus on the certain committee that they're a part of? So we've done a little bit of that. And my big focus this year is now looking at professional development, because we do need to make sure that in all the work that is going forward, we're you know, we're giving back to ourselves as well too. That's a part of this. So we're currently working on a different speaker series with the hopes of being able to talk about things such as sustainable living, understanding fast fashion, repurposing clothing, gardening with hydroponic growing systems, sustainable living and accessible and making it accessible and affordable, financial planning to make smart investments, getting out of debt, entrepreneurship and side hustles, hearing from local entrepreneurs and how they got started during a pandemic, essentially. Mental health during a pandemic, so that that's available to talk about relationships, body image, I discussed avoiding burnout, and then that social justice piece, which is a continuation of what we began with, allyship 101, BI POC experience in our communities. So this is something that we're hoping to offer for free as a part of the membership with our club, but then as a fundraising method, we will charge an accessible and affordable cost to any community members who would like to come in and watch that. So that's something that we'll see coming out over the fall and into the new year. But that's, and then preparing for hopefully some more normal times in the spring. But that is where we're currently at for now. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Hunter, for sharing all of that. It definitely sounds like a lot of our clubs have been definitely doing some different things during COVID times, but definitely using it as something to launch a lot of great things. So we're getting towards the end of our chat. I know we're trying to keep it at the 1 hour mark. So we do have a few more minutes. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to chat it into the group. You can also address it to a specific person or club if you would like to. So while we're waiting for some questions potentially to come in, I would like to take this time and have this opportunity to thank everybody who came out today to speak and let Rotary and all of the people who are here tonight, let them know about what Rotaract is and what we're doing and how we can stay strong together.
Remember, if you want to ask a question, you have to unmute yourself.
Would you like them in the chat, or can people speak up now?
People can speak up now.
Okay, so yes, if you'd like to ask a question right out, you just unmute yourself and you can say it.
Okay, so I'm area governor for Area 3, which is Sudbury, Sudbury Sunrises, North Bay Nipissing, North Bay Nipissing Rotaract, and Gold Bay and Idiot Lake. And we have a fantastic Rotaract club in North Bay Nipissing, but we do not have one in Sudbury. So that's really something we need to fix. And I'm going to be looking for all kinds of help and ideas from anybody to help us fix it. So just putting that on record. Thanks.
Yes, I know there was a Rotaract club in Sudbury a few years ago and was really sad to hear when they weren't there anymore. So yeah, definitely feel free to reach out and we'll look at getting some communication going about starting something up in Sudbury again.
Just a question about Interact. Have any of the Rotaract clubs been engaged with the Interact clubs in their areas? I know Halliburton certainly has a very strong Interact club now, and just wonder if there's been any collaboration with Interact as well as Rotary clubs.
I know I can speak to that from the Barrie Club. we do have a pretty good relationship with our Interact club. We actually had one of our Interact charter members just joined our Rotaract club this year, as she aged out. But we did actually put for a period of time a actual liaison with Rotaract and our local Interact, just like we did with the Rotary and the Rotaract. And we do try to keep them top of mind to get out to do joint events, and we also let them, like when they have events, we try to attend their events as much just to support them. So I know in Barrie we have had a pretty good relationship with our Interact club.
Something to throw out there to district leadership is that speaking on a global scale, particularly you look at a Rotaract France, Rotaract Australia, Rotaract Brazil, it's not uncommon for districts to have a very unofficial district Interact representative, which is basically the DRR, but for Interact. In districts where Interact is thriving or where there's opportunity to grow, it is not uncommon to see that role unofficially created, which has proven to be quite helpful in the retention of Interactors.
We actually have Reid, an Interact representative on our district council. Her name is Christine Kerr.
So Christine's a member of
She's
she's a member of the Haliburton Rotaract Club. She's also on the Rotaract Canada cabinet. And she's also a high school teacher who happens to be the teacher in charge of Interact this year. So Christine's going to be very, very busy with Rotaract, Interact, and I'm going to talk to her about Rotary because I don't think she's actually busy enough. But so we're just, we have had a meeting with Rotary, Rotaract, and Christine, who's going to be the Interact person, to try to find some synergies. And we feel that the Interactors will relate better to the Rotaractors than the Rotarians in terms of mentorship and planning of events. And they might do a couple joint events.
That sounds great. So are there any other questions to be directed to anybody on the panel? I have been checking the chat room and there's just nothing but accolades, Valerie. So great job for everyone. Thank you very much. And unless there's something else, Valerie, do you have any parting words before
Not really, but I want to thank everybody for coming out. And basically everybody who I connected with about speaking, especially on the Rotaract level, everybody jumped on the opportunity. So I just want to thank them for being so open and wanting to come and speak to Rotary. And I want to thank everybody from Rotary for coming out and listening to our chat, and hopefully in the future it can make sure that we are all communicating with each other more, and I'm excited to see the future of where we would go.
Thank you very much, Valerie, and we're excited to be working with all of you, not just you, Valerie, but every one of the panel here tonight. So without any other questions, I am going to thank everyone for being on the Saturday evening talk show. And I would like to thank Reid. I would like to thank Ted and Becca, Ryan, Lauren, Lindley, Hunter, and finally, but not least, Valerie for setting this whole thing up and running such a great session. I'd also like to thank past District Governor Sue Davidson for helping out as well. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't thank past District Governor Bill Hagboard for setting the whole thing up. So thank you very much for joining our session tonight, everyone. I hope you got a lot of information about Rotaract this evening. And I really hope that you work with these very, very talented and eager young members of our Rotary family, because they are here to help us and we them. So thank you very much. Next meeting will be Wednesday, October 7 at 6 o'clock. And the topic will be opportunities on the district leadership team, or everything you wanted to know about the district, but were afraid to ask. So that's our next session on October 7, and I hope to see you here. Bye-bye.